Restore Hearts family. This is the voice of your host and producer, Tiara Sharma. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be continuing our series on mending mother-daughter relationships, a daughter's journey. Today, we're going to be talking about that third letter in our acronym AFAR, and that is the second letter A, which stands for aware. And to be aware means that we're going to be aware of our thoughts and emotions that affect our behavior. And so we're going to go over some of those examples of what it means to be aware. And remember, in that first episode, when we started this series, I read a letter to you that I wrote to my mother and read to her in December of 2020, expressing those pains, those hurts, those disappointments that I had as a child, those things that were hiding inside of me that I needed to express in order to move forward in my relationship with my mother. And so that is our foundation for where my examples are coming from. So if you didn't get a chance to watch that episode, to watch any of the previous episodes, go back. You can find them on my YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/at Restore Hearts TV. So you can get caught up and join us in this journey and process. And so with aware, I notice that when my mother asks me for money, I feel sadness, tension, stress, and negativity overcome my body. So that's something I had to be aware of. I notice that when my parents are together, I feel stress, tension, and negativity overcome my body. I notice that when my mother talks to me about blank, I feel emotionally manipulated. And the reason that I put a blank there is because that could be different for a number of reasons. There's some things that I put in an example to fill in that blank. So, for instance, I noticed that when my mother talks to me about money, I feel emotionally manipulated. Or I noticed that when my mother talks to me about my dad, I feel emotionally manipulated. I notice that when my mother talks to me about helping other people, I feel emotionally manipulated. I notice that when my mother talks to me about moving to a new city, I feel emotionally manipulated. So that's going to be something that you have to really think about and notice about yourself when you're having these conversations with your mother. What's coming up? How are you feeling? And so that's part of that awareness. That just means to be awake and to know what's going on. Simple definition of awareness. To be awake and know what's going on. You want to know what's going on with you, what's going on inside of you. So I notice that when my mother says things that make me uncomfortable, I do not feel safe telling her the truth. I notice that I avoid my mother's phone calls because I do not know how to tell her I feel stressed out by her conversation when we talk on the phone. That's a big one. That's a big one because I know that I hear a lot of mothers talk about how their children don't call them. And there might not be that connection that, hey, when your child is on the phone with you, maybe there's some discomfort in the types of conversations and those emotions that are happening inside that you're not able to really communicate. And so it is a type of avoidance, but we don't want to just avoid. We want to heal so that we can be able to talk about these things and then to move forward in healing and mending our mother-daughter relationships. I noticed that my mother is still in a place where she has not acknowledged her emotions. That makes me feel like I have to hide my true, authentic self from her. Now, I want to stop here because that one was important for me because I realized that one of the sources of depression for me was hiding my emotions, hiding how I feel, and just suppressing. That was one of the key catalysts for depression when it came to my life. And so in order to have this relationship with my mother that was healthy, I needed to not have to hide when I talked to her. I needed her to be a safe place. And so that was very important for me to be aware of that so that I could address that moving forward. I noticed that hiding my emotions from my mother makes me feel depressed and sad. So, as I said before, for me, that would be a loop. If I feel like I have to hide with my mother, and then that's making me feel sad and depressed, but then I'm either avoiding her or when I'm with her, I'm not telling her the truth about how I feel, then it's just a loop. It's an unhealthy loop of thinking and emotions that are going on inside of me. And then we have to break that cycle. So I notice that when my mother calls me, I feel anxious. I notice that when my mother asks me how I am doing, I do not tell her the truth. I notice that when my mother hides from me, I hide from her. It is hard for me to be truthful with her when she lies to me. And that's a I think we got to stop there. I want to repeat that one. I notice that when my mother hides from me, I hide from her. It is hard for me to be truthful with her when she lies to me. So I think there's a progression that goes on when you're a young child and your mother tells you this, that everything's okay, you believe her. But as you become older and you have more experiences and you learn to read body language or you become more aware, then what used to be okay and your mother saying good when things weren't good becomes a lie. And so it puts a wedge in between the relationship when, as a mother, I understand this feeling now that I have children, that you want to try to protect your children from certain emotions or certain things that you're feeling, but we're really not protecting them. And we have to be sensitive to the age and we have to be sensitive to the information. I know we can't express everything to our children. We cannot give them details of everything that is going on with us, but what we can do is say, hey, I'm feeling sad right now, or hey, right now is not a good time to talk, instead of saying I'm good. There could just be a acknowledgement of the emotion without necessarily disclosing everything that's going on, because it has to be appropriate and within its time. We have to be wise and use judgment about what we say based on the age and maturity of our children. So definitely we just have to use our discernment when it comes to what we disclose to our children. But there is a way that we can learn to do that, express the emotion without necessarily going into details about things that are not appropriate for the children to be a part of that conversation at the time. When your voice, tone, body language, and your behavior contradict the words you speak, we start to lose respect for you over time. And so remember, at the beginning of this lesson, I recommended that we all take the position as a daughter, because we have all been a daughter before, but not all of us have necessarily been a mother. And so we're going for those things that are preventing us from having healthy relationships with each other when we address those unhealthy behaviors and those emotions that we all experience as daughters. That will help to really mend the relationship, because there won't be so much disconnection and a lack of understanding of where we're coming from in the relationship, in our mother-daughter relationships. I notice that when I hear yelling, I feel anxiety, fear, and panic. I immediately think there is a threat of danger, whether the yelling is playful or not. So that's something I had to become aware of as a mother. So those memories of yelling, those memories of anger that I experienced as a child, they kind of had a effect on me similar to a post-traumatic stress response. And so there would be times where I hear yelling, even with the children. The children may be yelling, they may be playing, they may be happy, joyful, but all I hear is the yelling. And because of that, my responses to them would be inappropriate at times, as I've had to become aware that that yelling was a post-traumatic stress action for me, because my response to their behavior was not appropriate. So, for example, they'll be playing, one of the children may yell, and my response is to tell them to be quiet versus looking up. My automatic response is to tell them to be quiet, shh, calm down, quiet down, versus taking a look at my surroundings, looking at their faces, and noticing, hey, oh, they're happy. They're yelling because they're happy. Yes, they may need to quiet down, but it's not for the reasons why I'm having the internal response inside. My internal response inside was fear, anxiety, and panic, which is inappropriate to the response of what is actually happening in real time. And so these are those sensitive things that we have to start to look at ourselves and see, am I having an appropriate response to what I'm being exposed to right now? So for me, that was a no. Now it's your turn. I want you to grab your journal, grab your pen, and let's release it. Let's write.
watching this episode of Restore Heart TD.
Life is a journey, and there are many moments. Some moments are smooth. You flow through them effortlessly. There are other moments when life's challenges interrupt your momentum, yet you find the strength to get back on track, to keep moving. So even if you have to crawl to make it there, do it, because victory belongs to you. You are equipped to handle every part of the journey. You were created to overcome this. Don't give up. I love you.